Okay, so many women that come to me will look me straight in the eye and they'll say to me, Lena, please help me learn how to just trust. How can I become a woman that is just in the moment and not feeling like she has to know what is happening next? How can I not feel like I'm a control freak? How can I learn to surrender and just be available to the moment that I'm in? How can I learn just to feel safe and secure with whatever is arising in front of me? How can I learn to just respond rather than react, right? Basically, we're saying, how can I not feel like I'm such a crazy, tight wound bitch? Or is that just me? I know it's not just me. I know for a lot of us, we feel the ways that we're creating all sorts of tension within our ways of being, within our energy, even within our relationship and the way that we are relating to the world, because we just feel like we want to have everything organized. We want to feel like we are in control. We want to know what's coming next so that we can best prepare ourselves for that. And usually that comes from some sort of experience in the past, maybe that has shocked us, taken us by surprise, that we didn't feel ready for. I know that most women that I speak to have some kind of story that goes along the lines of, I woke up one day and I didn't know that everything was going to be different, but it was. And from that moment, nothing was the same. And when I looked outside, everything seemed normal. And I could see everybody else just going about their day, living their lives as if nothing had changed. But for me, everything was different. And I couldn't quite reconcile how the world could still look the same, but fundamentally something had shifted within me and within my life, which meant I could never return to things as they were. And I was forced to deal with the new reality that I found myself within. Now, this can be something dramatic that happens to us, or it could just be something that takes us by surprise. Many of us experience these feelings through divorce, through the loss of a loved one. Maybe you have moved. Maybe it's something that you've chosen for yourself. You've taken a new job or you've stepped into a new relationship, right? You've moved to a new area. Change can occur in many different ways and create many different sensations within us. And our ability to become a woman who doesn't need to feel like she is in control to the point that it actually works against her is about learning how we can redevelop our relationship with change. We need to be able to see it, to touch it, to smell it, to feel it, and to develop a good working relationship with change. If we no longer fear change, resist change, it means we will no longer try to be in control and keep things the way that they are. Control ultimately is us just wanting to make sure that we know everything that is going to be happen so that we are not taken by surprise, so that we're best prepared, so that we can decide what happens. Change is actually the process of gently detaching from what has been and bringing ourselves into the present moment and accepting what is. And accepting what is ultimately means we see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. This is what change is. It's the dance between our past and our present. And it's a really important thing for us to understand, how do I process and adapt to a new understanding of myself when circumstances or situations change? Ultimately, that's what change is. Learning how we deal with, we process, and we adapt to the new understanding we have of self when things change. So I can use my divorce as a very clear example. I knew that my relationship with my first husband had reached its expiration date. I knew that that relationship needed to come to an end. It was in the best interest of both he and I that that occur. But the divorce still felt like it was splitting me straight down the middle. There was so much pain. There was so much grief. There was so much resistance. Not because I still wanted that relationship, but because within me, I could not process and adapt to the understanding of self that now said, I was a woman who was experiencing divorce. My past had been filled with conditioning and a belief system and the ideas that love would be forever, that marriage was a sacred union that should never be broken. So as I found myself in a new reality that saw me as a divorced woman, that change was really hard for me to adapt to, because it meant I had to redefine the working definition I had of myself and what my life was to be and what my values were and what rules I lived by within my life, in order to feel like I was a woman who was fulfilled, who was a good person, who was showing up into the world as she was supposed to. Divorce had never been on the cards for me when I was designing the ultimate experience for self as an adult. But there I was, signing divorce papers and very quickly having to learn, how do I adapt to this new version of me where divorce is part of my reality, right? It's a thought process. Change isn't necessarily about the doing of anything different. It's the new way of relating to self. It's the thought forms that we create. It is the meaning that we are making and applying to what is going on within us and around us. Our ability to process and adapt to the new understanding of self, the speed, the conviction, and the confidence with which we can do that ultimately sets us up for what can come next. Now, not all change is bad. Some change is exciting and expansive. If you are somebody who is looking to expand their view of self and do something different within the world, it might be that you want to study something different so that you can see yourself working in a new industry in a new way. You might feel compelled. You might feel that nudge that says, yes, do that. You'd be great at that. And yet you have these questions around whether it is allowed, whether it's too late, whether it's too risky, whether people are going to think that you are a fool. We have all of these questions that hold us back from feeling confident in our ability to set our sights on something new, release ourselves from the story, conditioning, belief, rules, and structures of our past, and move bravely with new thought forms, new feelings, new ways of being towards our inevitable future. The future is always coming. We are always moving into the future. Whether we will see ourselves in new ways, experiencing new things, and ultimately touching and exploring and having access to all that is available for us and to us, ultimately depends on how willing we are to embrace change, to learn to be safe in uncertainty and the unknown and the unfamiliar. Change actually is our ally. Change is all that is guaranteed in this life. That if we think new thoughts, if we behave in new ways, if we relate to our feelings in new ways, we will experience something different. Change can happen instantaneously, actually. The change that can occur within us, and then what we can see in the world around us, the way that we can take a widened perspective in a moment. It's our greatest superpower as humans. Our ability to decide and to decide again and to make change and make change and make change. There is no limit to how many times you are allowed to change in this lifetime. Now, you might feel like there is. You might have been conditioned to believe that by 18, you should know what you're going to do and you should dedicate 4 or 5 years to studying that. And then you should dedicate the next 20 to 30 years within that industry, building your reputation, saving money, providing for a family, and doing that until it's time to retire. And that would be a good life. You might be conditioned to think that you should have the one thing that you box yourself in with and you just focus on and you do that. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I do know that if you are magnetized to me and the conversations that we have, one thing was never intended for us. Our soul's purpose is meant to be felt and seen and witnessed and exposed and explored and expressed in 100 different iterations, because that is our right as humans, to see ourselves in many different contexts, in many different ways, and to allow ourselves to evolve and change and decide that we don't want to do what we said we were going to do because now we feel compelled to do something that feels more aligned to us. That is our right as humans. You get to choose for yourself again and again and again and again. to just explore new possibilities and new ways of being, and to decide for yourself that you're going to rework your relationship with change. So that change doesn't mean that something has been wrong. Change just means that you are now more in tune with your own intuition. You are connected more closely to your own innate knowing, and that you are moving towards something that is more meant for you, something that will show you more, allow you to feel more, allow you to be more, and ultimately support you in making your great contribution in this life. Your soul's purpose, your life's purpose is not about you feeling like you are just incredible. Your soul's purpose is about the way that only you can show up into this world and transmute and contribute the very thing that you have been put here to do in this lifetime, on this timeline, in this moment. It could be the way that you speak to people. It could be something that you teach. It could be a way that you stand up for certain rights and protect certain things. You could be a visionary and see things in new ways, and the ways that you talk of something, speak of something, design something, share something could create ripple effects that create an entirely new world. You really are that powerful. What you are here to do in this lifetime doesn't fall under the category of like clear-cut job description. Your essence, your unique energetic blueprint is just about you being fully expressed. And that doesn't mean having a really loud personality. When I'm talking about the full expression of who you are, it's about understanding your true value, your innate qualities, your innate contribution that is supposed to come to you, through you, as you, and to get really clear for yourself what your value is and who it is supposed to impact, so that you can continue to do that in this lifetime while there is still time. And while you are here, there is still time, my beautiful friend. So please detach and disassociate from any idea that your life's purpose is about finding the right job, and understand that jobs are here to support you in witnessing yourself in different contexts and different ways of being, so that you can get a greater understanding of your magic, of your purpose, of the innate goodness that can only come through you and be shared with the world only by you. I want to see you come alive. I want to see you curious about what else you could do and who else you could be, and what impact that would make if you stopped thinking that somebody else has the answers for you, that somebody else is supposed to verify your necessity, and you claim for yourself, I know I matter because I am here and I'm just a fractal of all that I see around me. We are all one in the same. So if I feel necessary, I know that you are necessary. And if you are necessary, I know the woman next to you is necessary. And because I know we are all necessary, I show up for these conversations, knowing that the right person at the right time will hear this and receive it in the right way. And then what she does with that will be the inspiration for the next person to evolve, to adapt, to process the change that they are experiencing in a way that feels expansive. And when we all decide to be lit up, and we all decide to courageously act and become fully expressed in what we know to be true for us, and activate the desire to know more, to be more, to have more, to share more, that is when we all kind of get to feel fulfilled, to feel like we matter, to make impact. Now, if this conversation has gone well over your head, I hope that you can just feel my energy and feel the excitement that comes through a being when we remember. When we remember, life isn't about 9 to 5. Life isn't about pay slips. Life isn't about status. It's not about titles. It's not about bank statements. It's not about that. All of these things contribute to our ability to be fully expressed in some ways. It's not about that. It's about how you feel within yourself, whether you feel like this is a life well lived, whether you feel like you are standing on the new edge of your own experience and really pushing the limits in terms of what you are available for and what comes next for you. And I encourage you to remember that you get to step a little further out each day, to get a little braver each day, to be more curious each day, to just find out what happens when you verify yourself and you give yourself full permission to believe that this life of yours is going to matter, because it does. You are so necessary.